Coming live from the Tivoli Met Radio studio here on Auraria campus, this is All Sports with Gerardo. Thank you for listening to All Sports through Met Radio on mymetmedia.com, live every Thursday from 3:30 to 5 p.m. This is your host, Gerardo, and all I talk is sports. On the show today, I am going to talk about breaking news, NFL football, Major League Baseball, NBA basketball, NHL hockey, and college basketball. So before I start the show, I hope you all had a great week. To start off with some breaking news, on Thursday, February 7, 2019, Frank Robinson died at the age of 83. Frank Robinson is a Hall of Famer, two-time MVP in both leagues, and he was Major League Baseball's first African-American manager. Moving on now to Major League Baseball, Nolan Arenado and the Rockies have agreed to a one-year contract to avoid arbitration. The Rockies have agreed to contracts with all 8 arbitration-eligible players. Nolan Arenado's contract was a record-breaking arbitration agreement. So I'm glad that the Rockies finally signed Nolan Arenado to a contract. They've been wanting to offer him a multi-year contract, but I believe he's not signing it because he wants to see how the Rockies play this year. And depending on how the Rockies play this season, that will determine if Nolan Arenado stays in a Rockies uniform for the next few years, or at the trade deadline, or when he's supposed to become a free agent in the offseason, he's going to be on a different team. So depending on how the first half of the baseball season goes, that will determine if Nolan Arenado remains on the Rockies or not. But I'm glad that they were able to sign this one-year contract, and hopefully he'll sign a multi-year and remain with the Rockies once the Rockies season's over. The Phillies have acquired JT Romero. Wade Miley and the Astros have agreed to a one-year contract. Curtis Granderson and the Marlins have agreed to a minor league deal. Spring training is around the corner, and throughout next week, pitchers and catchers on every team are going to report to their spring training facilities in Arizona and Florida. You're going to have to wait till next week, but next week, since baseball season's around the corner and the spring training games start at the end of February, I will tell you about the free agents that are still available on the market and talk to you about the beginning of the baseball season. So we definitely have a lot of free agents still available, big names that haven't been signed yet, so hopefully they get signed in the coming days or once the spring training games start. Right now I'm going to take a commercial break. When I come back, I will talk about the NFL. Welcome back to All Sports with Gerardo. Moving on now to NFL football. At the NFL honors, Patrick Mahomes won NFL MVP and Offensive Player of the Year. I'm so happy that Patrick Mahomes won MVP. He definitely deserved it. He had a great season. He had 50 touchdowns. Unfortunately, the Chiefs' season came to an end in the AFC Championship game against the Patriots, but the Chiefs are going to be back. They're going to make it to the Super Bowl. It's too bad that they fell short of the Super Bowl this year because, in my opinion, they could have won it, but they will be back. There's no question about that. Patrick Mahomes is a young quarterback. It's a young team. And just so you know, the Chiefs are going to be the team to be in the AFC West, and they're going to be the next team to be in the entire AFC with the Patriots, and once the Patriots lose Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. Aaron Donald won Defensive Player of the Year. Aaron Donald was the best defensive player this year, so congrats to Aaron Donald on winning this award back-to-back years in 2017 and 2018. He's definitely been a great defensive player, and these last 2 years have shown that by winning this award back-to-back. Shaquem Barkley won Offensive Rookie of the Year. Shaquem Barkley was one of the best running backs in college coming out of Penn State, and once he got to the NFL, he was really great in his rookie season. So congrats to Shaquem Barkley on winning this award. Darius Leonard won Defensive Rookie of the Year. He had a great season with the Colts. Andrew Luck won Comeback Player of the Year. Andrew Luck sat out the entire season last year, and this year coming back, he played really great football. The Colts started playing better later on in the regular season, and they made it into the playoffs. Unfortunately, they fell short to the Chiefs in the divisional weekend, but overall, the Colts did have a great season, and Andrew Luck showed that he's definitely a great quarterback now and going into the future. So he's proven a lot of people wrong that, yes, he could still play football. No, he won't be able to play football again because of all the injuries he's had, but he's definitely shown a lot of people that he can still be a elite quarterback in the NFL. Bears head coach Matt Lugge won Coach of the Year. Congrats to the Bears head coach. He definitely deserved this award. The Bears had a really great season, especially once they got Khalil Mack. The defense really changed. They became a better team. They landed up winning their division and getting into the playoffs, but unfortunately their season fell short after losing to the Eagles in the wild card game and not making that field goal and that extra point to tie the game and win the game at the end of regulation and go into overtime. But the Bears are going to be the team to watch in the NFC North next year and going forward. So keep an eye out on the Bears, the Vikings, and the Packers in that division. And Chris Long was named Walter Payton Man of the Year. Congrats to Chris Long on everything you contributed in the NFL and to your community as well. Pat Bowlen, Tony Gonzalez, Ed Reed, Champ Bailey, Ty Law, Gil Brennett, Kevin Maru, and Johnny Robinson were selected into the NFL Hall of Fame, and they're the class of 2019. Congrats to Pat Bowlen on finally making it into the Hall of Fame. He definitely deserved this for everything he contributed to the NFL and to the Broncos to be one of the best teams in the NFL. And since Jerry Jones was already in, it was time for Pat Bowlen. Tony Gonzalez had a great career as a tight end. He was definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer. Ed Reed had a great career as a safety. He was a first ballot Hall of Famer. Champ Bailey had a great career, especially with the Broncos, so he was definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer, and I'm so happy that Champ Bailey was able to go in with Pat Bowlen. Ty Law was also another great candidate to get into the Hall of Fame as well, so that's the class of 2019 that got inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame. And the induction ceremony of when the Hall of Famers receive their jackets will be in early August, so stay tuned for that. After 17 seasons in the NFL, Julius Peppers announced he is retiring from the NFL. Julius Peppers was the second pick in the 2002 NFL Draft. He won NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year in 2002, a 9-time Pro Bowler, a 3-time First-Team All-Pro, 2000s All-Decade Team, and he finished 4th in the all-time NFL sack list with 159.5 career sacks. After Super Bowl 53, the Dolphins are going to hire former Patriots linebacker coach Brian Flores to be their next head coach. The Bengals are going to hire former Rams quarterback coach Zach Taylor to be their next head coach. The Patriots are going to hire Greg Serrano to be their new defensive coordinator. The Eagles are going to pick up Nick Foles' $20 million option for 2019. Right now I'm going to take a commercial break. When I come back, I will talk about the rest of the NFL. Welcome back to All Sports with Gerardo. Moving on now to NFL football. So the main focus of All Sports with Gerardo episode 27 is Super Bowl 53. So right now I'm going to give you a recap and the highlights of the Patriots and the Rams in Super Bowl 53. The Patriots and the Rams have played against each other in the Super Bowl before. The Patriots beat the Rams 20-17 in Super Bowl 36. The Patriots beat the Rams once again 13-3 in Super Bowl 53 on February 3rd in Atlanta at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. For the Patriots, Tom Brady had 262 yards and 1 interception. Sonny Mitchell had 94 yards on 18 carries for 1 touchdown. Julian Edelman had 141 yards on 10 catches. Rob Gronkowski had 87 yards on 6 catches. Jonathan Jones had 1 sack. Stephen Gilmore had 1 interception. Kyle Van Noy had 1 sack, and Dante Hightower had 2 sacks. For the Rams, Jared Goff had 229 yards and 1 interception. Todd Gurley had 35 yards on 10 carries. C.J. Anderson had 22 yards on 7 carries. Brandon Cooks had 120 yards on 8 catches. Robert Woods had 70 yards on 5 catches. Corey Littleton had 1 interception, and John Franklin had 1 sack. Super Bowl 53 was the lowest scoring Super Bowl. It had the fewest points scored, and there wasn't a touchdown entering the 4th quarter. It was the 2nd lowest scoring first half in Super Bowl history, and it was the greatest defensive performance. Tom Brady is the GOAT. There's no doubt about it. He has been in the NFL for 19 seasons. He won his 6th Super Bowl, and he has more Super Bowl rings than 30 other NFL franchises. The Patriots tied the Steelers with 6 Super Bowls, which is the most Super Bowls won by a team in the NFL. Tom Brady has won 6 out of the 9 Super Bowls he has played in, and no other player has won more Super Bowls than Tom Brady. Tom Brady is the oldest quarterback to win a Super Bowl. Bill Belichick is the oldest head coach to win a Super Bowl. He tied Curly Lambeau and George Hales with 6 championships. Tom Brady and Bill Belichick have appeared in 9 Super Bowls. They have won 6 Super Bowls now. They have appeared in 13 conference championship games. They have been in the last 8 conference championship games, and they have won the AFC East 16 times. Julian Edelman won Super Bowl MVP. Julian Edelman was the highlight of the Patriots offense, and he had a great game. He had many catches for many yards, and the Rams defense definitely had a hard time stopping Julian Edelman since he was open all the time and he was just catching every pass from Tom Brady. The Rams averaged 32 points in the regular season and 28 points in the playoffs. The Rams only scored 3 points, and they didn't have a single snap in the red zone during Super Bowl 53. The Rams are the first team in Super Bowl history to punt on each of their first 7 possessions of the game. Rams punter Johnny Hicker set a Super Bowl record with a 65-yard punt. The Patriots only had a single snap in the red zone, which won the Super Bowl for them. The Rams started the first half of the 2018 season undefeated, and they had one of the best offenses and defenses in the NFL this season. Sean McVay was the youngest head coach to coach a team in Super Bowl history. Boston is a city of champions since the Patriots won Super Bowl 53 and the Red Sox won the World Series in 2018. The Patriots won the Super Bowl in 2001, 2003, 2004, 2014, 2016, and 2018. The Red Sox won the World Series in 2004, 2007, 2013, and 2018. The Celtics won the finals in 2008, and the Bruins won the Stanley Cup in 2011. Boston and Los Angeles have had a rivalry against each other that goes back to the Celtics going against the Lakers. This Boston and Los Angeles rivalry is well known, especially in basketball, between the Celtics and the Lakers when they would meet up in the regular season and in many finals back in the 1900s. The Red Sox and the Dodgers went against each other in the 2018 World Series, and the Red Sox won the World Series. The Patriots and the Rams went against each other in Super Bowl 53, and the Patriots won the Super Bowl. In the last few months, Boston and Los Angeles have went against each other in 2 different sports, and both times Boston has won the championship. On Tuesday, the Patriots had their Super Bowl 53 parade in Boston A few months ago, the Red Sox had their World Series parade in Boston. In the last few months, Boston has had 2 championship parades, which included the Red Sox and the Patriots. So Boston's definitely the city to live in. If you like your teams to win and you like going to championship parades every year, it seems like if you live in Boston, you're going almost every year to a championship parade because the Patriots are always getting to the Super Bowl. They're winning most of the Super Bowls. The Red Sox have been playing better baseball. They have won the World Series these last few years. The Celtics won the finals a decade ago, but they're starting to play better basketball now. The Bruins have been playing good hockey. They won the Stanley Cup a few years ago. So now that the Patriots won and the Red Sox won, can the Celtics win? Well, we're going to have to wait and see. But the Celtics are definitely one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. They have a very talented roster. They almost got to the finals last year, so maybe this is their year to come out of the Eastern Conference. We will have to wait and see what the Celtics do. And the Bruins, they're a great hockey team too, so we got to wait and see what the Bruins do in hockey as well. So definitely Boston's a big market, and the people in Boston and in that region expect their teams to win and to be the best teams in their league. So if you want to have a winning team, just move to Boston because one of the teams are winning every year and there's always a championship parade. Right now I'm going to give you my final thoughts on Super Bowl 53. Super Bowl 53, yes, it was still a great Super Bowl, but it definitely wasn't one of the best Super Bowls, especially if you compare the last few Super Bowls before Super Bowl 53. But overall, it was still a great Super Bowl, even though a lot of points weren't scored on the offense between the Patriots and the Rams. I kind of expected more points to be scored, but the defenses were great. They were solid for both teams. The Patriots offense definitely looked better than the Rams offense. The defenses were great. They were able to stop the other team from scoring. And really, a lot of the scoring didn't take place until the fourth quarter. So definitely defense wins championships. But you definitely want to score some points if you want to win the Super Bowl or win whatever game you're playing in. Tom Brady didn't have his best performance or the best Super Bowl performance, but he still had a decent game. Bill Belichick is one of the great coaches, one of the best coaches in the NFL, so he wasn't worried about participating in another Super Bowl. Yes, it's a big game, but he knows how to handle business, and he knows what to do in order for his team to win the Super Bowl, which they landed up doing once again. Julian Edelman was Super Bowl MVP. He had a big performance. He was catching almost every pass from Tom Brady, and the Rams defense definitely had a hard time stopping Julian Edelman from catching or from potentially scoring and getting downfield. Dante Hightower was great on the Patriots defense. He was able to get to Jared Goff. He had a big game. Jared Goff didn't have his best game in Super Bowl 53. He still did decent, but he could have done a lot better. Comparing him to the playoffs or especially the regular season, this was definitely one of his worst performances. Todd Gurley wasn't really used a whole lot in the Super Bowl. It's unfortunate, even though that they have C.J. Anderson, which they were using a lot throughout the playoffs and in the regular season when they signed him back in December. But if you had Todd Gurley, which is one of the best running backs in the NFL, a lot of teams would die to have Todd Gurley. Why aren't you using him? Why is he on the sideline and you're in the Super Bowl? If you would have had Todd Gurley in your game plan, for sure you should have won the Super Bowl, especially having one of the best running backs. So I don't know what the case was with keeping Todd Gurley on the sideline. C.J. Anderson still had a great performance as well. In my opinion, the Rams could have won Super Bowl 53. It's unfortunate that they didn't win. If they would have scored points, if they would have scored like 20 or more points, they could have been Super Bowl 53 champions. There should have been no reason why they didn't win this Super Bowl. This Patriots team was the one team out of all the Super Bowls they have played in that was beatable. And Tom Brady didn't even have his best performance. The Rams could have won it, but they let the Super Bowl slide from them. Now, I don't know if this would have made a difference if it would have been the Chiefs against the Rams, the Patriots against the Saints. I just don't know what would have happened if it would have been different teams in the Super Bowl. If the Saints would have went against the Patriots, would they have scored more points? Maybe they would have won Super Bowl 53. They were supposed to come out of the NFC, but you know what happened in the NFC Championship game? With that play not being called pass interference, the Saints should have been in the Super Bowl instead of the Rams. If it would have been the Chiefs against the Rams, maybe they would have won. The Chiefs probably would have won the Super Bowl. So it's unfortunate, but it was still a great Super Bowl. And I can't wait to see who's going to be in Super Bowl 54. So the commercials during Super Bowl 53, there were a lot of great commercials as well, especially that NFL one that lasted for a while. That was probably one of the best or the best commercial during Super Bowl 53. And if you didn't see that commercial, I would highly recommend going to YouTube and watching that commercial. It's definitely worth watching. The halftime show was great too, but just like the Super Bowl, it wasn't one of the best comparing other halftime shows and other Super Bowls from years past. This Super Bowl and this halftime show just wasn't the best, but it was still great. There was definitely highlights throughout the Super Bowl and throughout the halftime show. Super Bowl 53, even though it was a low-scoring game and it didn't seem that exciting from the last few Super Bowls, there were definitely a lot of stats and records that were set. So the favorites to win Super Bowl 54, the Patriots, Rams, Chiefs, Saints, Chargers, and Bears. I could definitely see in the AFC and the NFC, in the championship game, rematches of this year's championship games in the AFC between the Patriots and the Chiefs, and in the NFC, the Saints against the Rams. We're going to have to wait and see, but I can definitely see those four teams getting back into the playoffs, getting to their championship game, and one of those four teams getting to Super Bowl 54. Hopefully in Super Bowl 54 we will see the Chiefs and the Saints. It's unfortunate that the home teams lost in their championship games, but maybe next year's the year. But I really hope that the Chiefs get to Super Bowl 54 and win the game, or at least get there. I think they should have got into Super Bowl 53 this year. And Super Bowl 54 will be in Miami at Hard Rock Stadium. So make sure to tune into that next year. Right now I'm going to take a commercial break. When I come back, I will talk about the NBA and NHL. Welcome back to All Sports with Gerardo. Moving on now to NBA basketball. Last week, LeBron James returned back to the court for the Lakers against the Clippers after sitting out for more than a month since Christmas with an injury. I'm glad that LeBron James is back for the Lakers. Throughout the last month, after he suffered this injury on Christmas against the Warriors, this really hurt the Lakers and they suffered. They fell down in the Western Conference standings, but hopefully with LeBron James back, they're going to climb back into the Western Conference standings. LeBron James moved into 5th in the all-time scoring leaders. Only Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Karl Malone, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar are in front of LeBron James. LeBron James has been in the NBA since he was 18 years old, so by the time he retires, he could definitely land up being between Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Karl Malone as the all-time scoring leader. It's just going to depend on how many more years he plays, but he could definitely get into that second spot. I don't know if he'll pass Kareem Abdul-Jabbar because he does have a lot of points, but you never know. But I definitely see him getting into the top 3 of the all-time scoring leaders. The Nuggets have the best record in the Western Conference right now, and the Nuggets coaching staff, which includes head coach Michael Malone, will coach Team LeBron in the All-Star game. Nikola Jokic now has 10 triple-doubles this season. He was named an All-Star, and he is going to participate in this year's NBA Skills Challenge. The Heat are going to retire Chris Bosh's jersey on March 26. Luka Doncic became the 7th player in NBA history to score 1,000 career points at the age of 19. LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Carmelo Anthony, and Dwight Howard were 19 years old when they scored 1,000 career points. Kyle Kluver moved into 4th in all-time three-pointers made. Wizards' John Wall will undergo surgery to repair a ruptured left Achilles tendon after slipping and falling in his house, and he will be out for 1 year. The Knicks have released Ernest Carter and Wesley Matthews. The Suns released Wayne Ellington. The NBA trade deadline was Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. There was definitely a lot of moves that took place in the NBA before the trade deadline. So to highlight the NBA trade deadline was definitely Kristaps Porzingis being traded from the Knicks to the Mavericks. That was a big move that shocked the entire NBA. Also, the Clippers have traded Tobias Harris, Boban Marjanovic, and Mike Scott to the 76ers. In return, the 76ers are giving the Clippers Landry Shamet, Wilson Chandler, Mike Muscala, a 2020 first-round pick, a 2021 first-round pick from the Heat, and 2 second-round picks. This move made by the 76ers definitely made their team a lot better, and their potential 5 in their starting lineup includes Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, Jimmy Butler, JJ Redick, and now Tobias Harris. So they definitely are going to be one of the favorites to come out of the Eastern Conference. The Grizzlies have traded Marc Gasol to the Raptors. In return, the Raptors are giving the Grizzlies Jonas Valanciunas, Delon Wright, CJ Miles, and a 2024 second-round pick. By the Raptors acquiring Marc Gasol, this definitely made their team better, and this is going to be another team that's favored to come out of the Eastern Conference. The Kings traded Justin Jackson and Zach Randolph to the Mavericks for Harrison Barnes. The Lakers have traded Michael Beasley and Zubac to the Clippers for Mike Muscala. The 76ers have traded Markelle Fultz to the Magic. In return, the Magic are giving the 76ers Jonathan Simmons, a first-round pick and a second-round pick. The Cavaliers traded Rodney Hood to the Trailblazers. The Pistons traded Stanley Johnson to the Bucks for Don Maker. The Wizards traded Otto Porter to the Bulls for Bobby Portis and Jabari Parker. Right now I'm going to give you the current NBA standings in the Eastern and Western Conference. So to start off in the Eastern Conference, at number 1 is the Milwaukee Bucks, and number 2 is the Toronto Raptors, and number 3 is the Boston Celtics, and number 4 is the Indiana Pacers, and number 5 is the Philadelphia 76ers, and number 6 is the Brooklyn Nets, and number 7 is the Charlotte Hornets, and at number 8 is the Miami Heat. So that's the current standings in the Eastern Conference. In the Western Conference, at number 1 is the Golden State Warriors, and number 2 is the Denver Nuggets, and number 3 is the Oklahoma City Thunder, and number 4 is the Portland Trail Blazers, and number 5 is the Houston Rockets, and number 6 is the San Antonio Spurs, and number 7 is the Utah Jazz, and at number 8 is the Los Angeles Clippers. So that's the current standings in the Western Conference, and that's also the current standings in the Eastern and Western Conference of the NBA. Moving on now to NHL hockey. Right now I'm going to give you the current NHL standings in the Eastern and Western Conference. In the NHL, the division standings go off the amount of goals the team scored, not by the wins or losses by the team. So to start off in the Eastern Conference, in the Metropolitan Division, right now the New York Islanders are leading this division at 66 points, and right behind them is Washington at 64 points. In the Atlantic Division, right now Tampa Bay is leading this division at 81 points. They have a big lead in this division, and the next closest team is Toronto at 69 points. In the Western Conference, in the Central Division, right now Winnipeg's leading this division at 71 points, and Nashville's right behind them at 68 points. In the Pacific Division, right now Calgary is leading this division at 73 points, and San Jose's right behind them at 69 points. So that's the current standings in the Western Conference. That's also the current standings in the Eastern and Western Conference of the NHL. Right now I'm going to take a commercial break. When I come back, I will talk about college basketball and the end of the show. Welcome back to All Sports with Gerardo. Moving on now to college basketball. In the Week 14 men's college basketball AP Top 10 poll, the current top 10 college basketball teams are Tennessee, Duke, Virginia, Gonzaga, Kentucky, Nevada, Michigan, North Carolina, Michigan State, and Marquette. Moving on now to end the show. What to watch for this week in sports? Next week, pitchers and catchers on every team are going to report to their spring training facilities in Arizona and Florida. NBA basketball, the Nuggets, college basketball. Moving on now, on the next show I will talk about NFL football, Major League Baseball, NBA basketball, NHL hockey, and college basketball. I hope you all have a great weekend. Tune in to the next All Sports with Gerardo show next Thursday from 3:30 to 5 p.m. I want to say thank you to everybody that listens to All Sports through Met Radio here on mymetmedia.com. Subscribe or like my pages on social media at All Sports with Gerardo. Until next time, this is Gerardo.